Hi, good morning, folks. The National Day of the Constitution, uh, National Day of the Constitution, and it's also the National Day Against Dowry. Hi, welcome, Mishika.
Hi, thank you. Just give me a second, Nida. I'm trying to figure out why my Bluetooth isn't working. Just a second.
Folks, Mishika is joining us live from the court, so give her a couple of minutes to settle in.
Sorry, guys. Just a second. It's working otherwise. I'm just not able to hear your audio.
Oh, yeah.
I can hear you
Now I
loud
can
and
hear
clear.
you.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Yeah, now I can hear you in my ears and not when everyone can hear you.
Super. Thank you so much, Mishika. आज हमें join करने के लिए thank you so much to take out time. I know you've been in back-to-back meetings, and I can see you in your kala coat. I can see that you're joining live from the court. And thank you so much. Why don't you for our viewers just introduce yourself a little bit, and what do you do? So people know from the poster that you're an advocate, but they don't know what else you do.
All right. So I'll just keep it very short. I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing in Delhi for the last 10 years. I manage an NGO that works mostly around gender-based violence and human rights violations. And my personal practice is also around gender-based violence. I'm on the matrimonial panel in the Delhi High Court. So I look at matrimonial cases, legal aid cases that come to the Delhi High Court. Sum and substance, that's what
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Yeah. So, as an advocate, you're also practicing at the High Court. You're also on panel, and then you also work with the legal aid You also founded a legal aid foundation, Neve. What kind of unique systems do you get to work with? Because there are so many different, कितनी अलग-अलग perspectives से आप काम करते हो. When it comes to gender-based violence and gender justice, खास तौर से. What systems do you work with?
So, to begin with, because we work in the field of gender-based violence and human rights violations, police is one systemic thing that we look at, interaction with the police, how to file a complaint, how to help people approach the police in case the complaints are not getting filed, if the FIR is not getting registered, what they can do. So we look at that area. In terms of institutions, then we look at the district courts where we have our own cases from Neve Foundation. Because we're looking at matrimonial cases, the start of these cases is mostly at a district court. So we work in district courts. We have a couple of cases over there. At present, the courts in Delhi that we're looking at are Tisazari, Patiala House, Saket, and Karkaduma. And within these courts also there's separate districts. Like Tisazari has 2 districts, Karkaduma has 3 districts. So our work is relevant in certain districts, and the DLSAs of those areas are also organizations or let's say institutes that we've collaborated with in the past for legal awareness, for organizing some Aadhaar card camps or any social entitlement camps. And then, like I mentioned, the High Court panel that's there. Over here, I'm directly involved in legal aid as I am one of the panel members. So in sum and substance, those are some of the systems that we are directly involved with, working with actively.
Yeah. Thank you for that picture. I think because it also gives us an understanding of that implementing the law and making the system work. Really जब हम कहते हैं that constitution is there, and it's a wonderful document, but उसको जिंदा करने के लिए to really make that come alive so that each and every citizen, हर citizen को उसका हक मिल सकता है. There are all these other players, stakeholders, जिनको सबको activate करना पड़ता है. It doesn't happen by any one person. Thanks for that. Mishika, I think just to start off, I'd like to just understand from you, and we always ask this to everyone, who we speak to. आप violence को कैसे समझते हैं? What is your definition of violence and gender-based violence?
I think in sum and substance, anything that is against your consent or anything that is done to you without your consent. It could be physically, it could be mentally, anything that violates you to an extent that something's done to you that you wouldn't be okay with. I think I would consider that as the basic definition of violence. Whether you are being talked in a way that you are not okay with and you don't consent to, whether you're being physically treated in a way that you don't consent to. All these ways, I think, in sum and substance come down to the point that I have not consented to being treated or being at the receiving end of certain behavior, and if that's being done to me, that is violence.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot. Because that also, also say that violence is not just the physical violence that we experience on our bodies. It is also psychological. It is economic. It is social. It is structural. And I think that's also been our stand that how can we go beyond the obvious forms of violence to also look at the other forms, जो थोड़ी सी invisible होती हैं, जो दिखती नहीं हैं, but which are deeply ingrained, and exclude करती हैं लोगों को, पीछे रखती हैं लोगों को. Um, Tell me something, I mean, I also think a lot about this as a young feminist working, in a feminist organization, that, when it comes to gender-based violence, there have been uh, quite a few landmark judgments across the years, that all of us have really, they've been kind of solid, for us in the field to work, and they've been those really powerful tools to help, to also work with women and facilitate those equal rights and claim those spaces, which are much needed. For example, like Vishaka, or PWDVA, or POSH, and post 2012, post Jyoti Singh's rape, the Justice Verma Committee also brought out whole bunch of these, recommendations, and all of us thought that, a lot of things were going to change, in the sense that systems were going to become better, So I think just, because you have a unique perspective on history kya rahi hai, in the last 10-15 years of these laws, and, what has happened, kya badla hai, when it comes to laws with respect to gender equality and gender-based violence. What has changed? And, if you can give us a little context.
So, Nida, I think mostly जब हम landmark judgments की बात कर रहे हैं, like, the two that you mentioned, we spoke about the Vishakha guidelines that came out of the Bhabhi Devi rape case. We briefly mentioned about the Justice Verma Committee report that came following the Jyoti Singh Delhi gang rape case. A common pattern in these is that these are not intuitive in a way that law is taking care of any development that is happening with regards to safety of gender, but it's mostly reactive to the extent that if something is happening and something that is, how they say, that shakes the conscience of the entire nation, only then these landmark judgments are coming into being. So I think that is a big problem. Even the Vishakha guidelines that came in the late 90s, just to give a brief background, there was a gang rape case of a woman who was advocating against child marriage in Rajasthan. And it was seen as a concern because it was safety at workplace. She was doing something that the government had appointed her for. She was a part of that program, and therefore the need for women to be safe at workplaces sort of became a very basic need. But this is something that, that women, as soon as they started working or started exploring the workplaces, when women were being hired, I think something like this should have been done before and not after. And even when the guidelines came in the late 90s, eventually the law has come only 11 years ago, 2013. So we see that, there's delay in terms of the law adapting to the situation. For example, now during COVID, we know how virtually the workspace has expanded. We've also known how virtual cases of sexual harassment have come out. Yeah. But there's not really been an eager beaver movement to sort of codify the law in a different way to include these new things that have come across. To include generally in the definition of workplace, a virtual work environment also does exist. But how things change, how it impacts the person on the receiving end, what other things the other person needs to keep in mind so that they are not committing a crime under the POSH Act. All those things can be nuanced. The law can be sort of highlighted to incorporate those things. But sadly, in the cases that we at least just spoke about, the law has become very reactionary. The changes are coming only when something bad is happening. But when you ask, generally the laws that impact us on a day-to-day basis, as a lawyer who's working in this field, as a team that's working mostly with women, there are a lot of small laws that are landmark judgments, but since there's no aggravated violence, not a lot of people know about it who are not from the legal field. Like there's an example of the Rajneesh versus Neha case. It's a matrimonial case. The Supreme Court has it in a long judgment and also given checklist of things that need to be included when looking at maintenance, interim maintenance, alimony. A bunch of things are covered in that judgment. So that is something that all lawyers look at whenever they're going ahead with their case, filing something. Another one is the Anuvita Vohra case. One question that women always want to understand, even men for that matter, is that if they file a case and if they're looking for maintenance or they're looking to separate, how much of the husband's property or money or income can they actually access? Especially when the women are taking care of the children, that becomes a priority. That if I'm not sustaining myself and I'm taking care of the children, how much can I expect my husband to give me? So that is something that the Anuvita Vohra case talks about and discusses in detail. So it gives more clarity in terms of how matrimonial litigation can look for someone who's looking to start. But in terms of violence, I think we still have a long way to go. I think we still have a lot of recommendations on the Justice Verma Committee report that have not been implemented. The attitude of the police is still very problematic. There's a need for us to be going to the police stations to get, cases registered. Even more in cases of matrimonial violence, when women are approaching the police stations, they're again met with a lot of resentment. Their complaints are not taken very seriously. A lot of them are told that this is between you and your husband. Ye aapke ghar ka mamla hai.
Yeah.
So, you settle it between them. Things are not taken that seriously. And then they have to down.
Sorry, Mishika, we lost your audio. Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
No, yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, basically the point that I was making was that despite so many things happening, it becomes a forgotten memory in practical life when you see when people go to file their complaints and women want to get their FIR registered, it becomes a problem. And this is what I tell people when, they talk about, but women abuse laws and there are so many false cases. And we try to explain that, following a statistic somewhere is different from actually knowing what the procedure can look like. It's only someone who's tried to file a domestic violence complaint or a 498A FIR would know how much they had to do to get that first wheel sort of going. So those are the things that we are still looking at, and I really hope that it doesn't take another case or another violation to that extent for us to be taking these things seriously.
Yeah. I mean, because, the truth of the matter is that you have these laws and they're fantastic laws, and, the Constitution lays down, those discrimination-free guidelines, that right to, that right to liberty, that right to freedom, that right to dignity, fraternity. I mean, these are such important values, and then there are very many detailed, outlined directives to how one can live those values. But and then you have these fantastic laws, I mean, which are so, PWDVA and POSH, but also nothing looks at violence in public spaces as such, and of course, the online gender-based violence is so new that nobody really knows how to respond to it, or nobody's still taking it seriously, no, and therefore what happens is, despite laws, gender-based violence still persists. And like you said, one of the problems is also, I think, the sensitization of our institutions. I mean, how how do they treat survivors? How do they treat survivors who approach them? First of all, most survivors. I mean, like, I know that the kind of groups that we work with, they won't approach the courts. They don't believe in the courts. They don't believe in police stations. Because they feel like they'll be put through the ringer, कि उनकी वहाँ पे बहुत मतलब उनको बहुत दलील किया जाएगा. That is the feeling that they have, and that is also what helps to perpetuate these perpetuate this kind of violence, because वो जो shrouded in shame होता है, that you make a survivor feel shameful about it,
I think that is sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just saying that, that seems to be an offshoot of patriarchy, because at the end of the day, the conditioning is that it's the responsibility of women to carry a family together. It's the responsibility of a woman to hold everyone together. And if you are failing to do that, then probably it's your fault. So the woman also goes through the same thing, that, this is something that I had to do. And I failed at that. So sometimes they are reluctant in taking any action. They think it's deserving punishment for them failing to do what they were supposed to do, or conditioned to think what they were supposed to do. And then the society also sometimes treats them that way, that this is literally what you have to do to take care of your family and to make sure that it's a solid family and it doesn't fall apart. And if you fail to do that, then what help do you need? Sort of a understanding, and I think that becomes quite problematic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what about men, Mishika? I mean, gender-based violence, by and large, yes, we see a lot of men who come up to us and say that, and a lot of young men that we work with and engage with as well, that, आप तो औरतों के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं सिर्फ, what about men? When they when they face violence on the basis of their gender, where are they supposed to go? What recourse do they have?
So fortunately, men do not experience violence, especially sexual violence, to the same extent that women do. There's a lot of statistics to support that. Unfortunately, that does not mean that men are not victims of sexual violence. And not just men, we don't have to look at just binary. People are victims of sexual violence. It's most unfortunate for women because the number is much larger, and that's why there's a need to have special laws for them. That does not discard the fact that men can also be victims of sexual violations. With that being said, again, with the new law, there's issues about rape committed on men and bestiality not being included in the law, while it was earlier there.
Yeah.
General apprehension
men being victim of sexual violence because it sort of attacks the masculinity issue. So that is something that I think we're dealing with as a society. On one side, the argument is that, if women want equal rights, then women shouldn't be aiming for all these special laws. But on one side,
accepting that men can be victims of violence, even in cases of child sexual abuse. So I think that is something that we are still getting used to as a society. People are still getting okay with it because the shame that sexual violence attaches, even for a woman, is a lot. For a man, it's direct threat to the toxic concept of masculinity that we can have as a society, potentially do have as a society. So I think that also makes it difficult for men to acknowledge. But that does not mean the laws are not required for it. Yes, there is great development that the law can have in terms of acknowledging this and finding ways to redress this. But I think, like I said, even for women, the law is still looking to incorporate certain things. So it's just about what we're looking to prioritize at what point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. It is about niyat also to a certain degree. हमारी niyat क्या है, हम क्या prioritize कर रहे हैं life में.
It's mostly about that,
Yeah. Because I was trying to find, for example, data which is out there on crimes of sexual violence or hate crimes against trans women, trans men, and there is no data, like there is no data available. And whereas we know for a fact, we know from our friends and organizations who work with queer communities and trans communities that this is institutionalized violence. Har mode pe violence face karna hota hai, just simply for being who you are, and they're also that much more vulnerable because many of them, do not live with their natal families because they face violence there. Families ke andar jo violence hua, and they had to leave. Many of them are homeless. And there is absolutely no documentation of that, no recourse for that also, because technically you're not a woman, you can't claim that you've been you faced violence under something like PWBA because technically you're not a woman. So then where do you go? What do you do?
So then you have the residual sections of the erstwhile Indian Penal Code, voluntary causing hurt, voluntary causing grievous hurt, depending on the extent of the injuries that are there. Then you can, the law, Nida, unfortunately, the two issues that are basically there, I think, looks at gender as binary, man and woman, and also looks at man as the oppressor and woman as the one getting oppressed. I think that is something that law sort of needs to leave a little behind and look at people with a more lens of what they are capable of doing versus what their anatomy defines them as. So I think that is where we are. And therefore, whatever sections will apply, the laws that are specifically for women will only be for women, but the other sections that are there can help those who otherwise face any sort of injury. But a lot of work is required in that regard. And therefore, when we pick laws to change. I think these are the ones that we should look to change first before moving to laws that can probably wait a while.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And Mishka, tell me, we were talking about a lot of work needs to be done, and I've always been, I've known you for years, from common circles where we've done so much work at the grassroots, and you started Neve a couple of years ago, and it's a very different approach to looking at gender justice and ensuring that जो हक होता है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में वो हर इंसान तक पहुंचे. So tell me a little bit about the need, Foundation for Legal Aid, and I'd like to understand that what role can legal aid organizations play in a country like India in this kind of environment. जो अभी हमने picture paint की है, with the law, vis-a-vis the implementation, the kind of gaps. Tell us a little bit about your work with Neve and what role legal aid can play.
So I'll give some background information that there are certain categories of people under our law which are entitled to free legal aid. So women, children, people from the OBC category, not OBC, SC category, physically, mentally disabled, anyone who has a certificate. There are certain categories that are entitled to free legal aid. Now, because that is something that needs to be implemented, every district court, every court that you will approach will have a legal service authority from which, if you fall under the criteria, you can get a lawyer. This is also for men under a certain income level. That is different for different courts. And it's also for senior citizens under a separate income level. So there's a varied categories of people that are covered under this free legal aid. So now why an organization like ours is needed becomes the question, that if the state is looking at something like this, if everyone who is covered under that category can get free legal aid, then what's your relevance? So we actually come into the picture as an organization because these courts are still physically not accessible to a lot of people. When we talk about free legal aid, the accessibility of that sometimes can become an issue. So when we started working, we were working with a lot of people in Northeast Delhi. For them, the nearest court was Karkarduma, which was still at quite a significant distance for them. So we became people who were within the community. So the accessibility, the physical accessibility part of it was addressed. Now the other problem that free legal aid from the state side has seen over the years is the quality of legal aid. Not every time do you get the results or do you get the dedication that you expect from a legal aid lawyer, and it could be various reasons. So that was the problem that we wanted to figure out what to do about it. And the legal aid, the way it works is that once you provide it to the lawyer, then you have to engage with the lawyer, figure out what is happening. For people who are not educated, are the people that we work with, if your case is going bad, you don't really know it. You don't know what the procedures, you're completely relying on the lawyer. And there may be a reason why the lawyer has not been able to pursue the case diligently and something has happened that is against you. So to address that issue, an organization like ours exists. We are there to make sure that we represent the people only who don't have any other resources. So if we get someone who doesn't have a source of income but has basic education, we expect them to go to the legal aid services authority, get a lawyer from there. We are happy to give them a second opinion, guide them if needed. But we want our resources to be for people who are not able to even coordinate with their lawyers with the kind of assistance that they need and with what they're expecting in the case. So that is how we primarily came into place. But because we were working with the demographic which is not highly educated, we realized that people will file cases or will want to do something about violation of their rights only when they know what their rights are and only when they're able to identify that their rights are getting violated.
Realize भी नहीं
So
होता
that's
है
how,
कि मेरा
only पता ही नहीं, for them it's something that has happened. The fact that they feel bad about it is a moral wrong. They don't understand that it could legally be wrong. They could be entitled to remedy and relief or, things under the law. So that's where our work now focuses in terms of time. We are obviously still representing people in court, but that's a very slow process. We file a case, it goes on for several years. We're still helping people out by representing them, but a lot of our bandwidth is now going in legal awareness. The idea is to have a society or at least have a community in a place where if your rights are getting violated, at least you know what you can do. We are not encouraging anyone to go to court. We are not encouraging everyone to file a case. All we are looking to do is tell you the law so that if and when the need arises, time arises, you're not helpless. You are able to support yourself. If not, at least you know about free legal aid where you can go and get some advice. So we're taking care of those basic things. How to deal with the police is something that we do in our legal awareness sessions. A lot of people complain that the police didn't write my complaint. Now, the police will never write a complaint. You have to give your complaint in writing, carry a photocopy so that they can give you a stamp on it. Then you have to keep following up with them if an FIR needs to be registered. In case they're not registering an FIR, there's other remedies that you can undertake. So those are the kind of things we help people understand. People are kept very aloof from the entire legal procedure and even the quasi-legal procedure, which makes it mysterious, which makes it always long and tedious. But if at the beginning of you filing a case, someone tells you that, okay, the likelihood of this lasting at least 3 to 5 years is very real, and these are the things that will take place, these are the steps that will be there, then at least the person is mentally prepared. What happens is that, people expect that courts will give them swift justice. The swift part, a lot of times, is not possible because of the overburdening on the system. There's a lot of issues why that overburdening that happens, but it's not just a one-sided issue. Every day there are multiple cases that are there in court, so it is a slow-moving process. I think that has been the focus of the kind of counseling we do when people come to us for filing a case. And before that, we mostly look at awareness in terms of general rights that we think do get violated and what people can do about them. Basic hygiene of how to deal with the police. So that's the work in Sum and Substance. Additionally, just one more thing that we think that makes sense is that for this demographic, legal rights are very privileged rights to access. That, you want me to file a case, but my child is not getting an admission because their Aadhaar card is not made, because the birth certificate is not there, because the child was born at home during COVID. Bunch of issues, So for them, the legal rights or anything to do about it is it's a very privileged right. So we also look at organizing social entitlement camps, what I mentioned earlier, to get the Aadhaar card sorted, if they need help with the PAN card. Simple basic things for which people are dependent on cyber cafes, may or may not get anything from them. So those are also the kind of things that we're looking to do and currently doing with the organization.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for painting that picture. And what's the role of Legal Aid Foundations? Do you think what's that role that Legal Aid Foundations play in this entire institutional machinery of law, of legality, of constitution को ज़मीन पे उतारने के लिए, you have lawyers, you have the court, you have so many other, you have the police, you have different authorities, you have local courts, authorities. So what roles do Legal Aid Foundations play इस पूरे स्तर को navigate करने के लिए?
I think abhi to they're playing quite a relevant role, especially in the recent times, because the people who have the power of social media or internet generally, like we are doing this Instagram live, we're speaking mostly in English, but my audience, the people that I work with, are not people who may have a smartphone or access Instagram live, but we are there physically. So no matter how much information is available out there, it's not really accessible for everyone. So the relevance becomes even more that the disparity between people with internet and people without internet is increasing. So the presence of organizations like us at least gives people some way to move forward. They can, pick up a phone, call us, or if we are located in their community, they can physically approach us. If, something is right next door, the likelihood of you going and finding out what they're doing and seeking help is higher. As opposed to, do I have to file a case against my husband? For that, I will have to need to go to court or to the police station. So it's sort of molding ourselves into convenience. And I think that's for all community-based organizations that are working on grassroots level, that we just become more of a safe space which is accessible for someone who may need help. And I think that's something that only institutes, only independent organizations can do. The state already, like I said, is burdened with a lot of things. But if there was something that could be done from that side to sort of alleviate our burden, would be to have some checks and balances in terms of the quality of legal aid that's being provided, instead of just existing as a service provider that connects a person who needs legal aid to a lawyer. It could also be that they do some checks and balances in terms of people who are not educated. Every 6 months, are their cases being done properly? Are the orders from the court file updated? Because at the end of the day, if you're not able to help the person who came for help, it sort of loses its significance.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. I think my next question is a little bit more practical now. Thanks for also pointing that out. That मान लीजिए, if I'm a person, मान लीजिए मैंने अपने घर पे if I have faced violence, sexual or otherwise, at the hands of my family member, it could be my husband, it could be somebody else, जो मैंने घर में face किया है. और मान लीजिए, if I'm someone who has been assaulted or harassed on the road, on the public space, or in my workplace, I could be a woman, I could be a trans woman, I could be a queer person, I could be young, I could be old. क्या आप practical steps कुछ बता सकती हैं, just for our audience who is watching, that what are some of these things, what are some steps जो आप follow कर सकते हैं, if you have been on this side of the fence, अगर आपके साथ गलत हुआ है, if you've been harassed, assaulted in any form, without even a physical touch, if you've been stalked, what could I do? मैं क्या कर सकती हूँ?
So in a domestic setup, Nida, and this is not just for married women.
Yeah.
This is sort of, I think, myth that's out there on the basis of the information that we see, that the Domestic Violence Act is applicable only to married women. That is
Right.
not correct. Any woman who's in a domestic relationship,
Right.
so it could be with other family members, in case they face any violence, they can go under the Domestic Violence Act. So that is in your family setup if something is happening. If the same thing is happening in public, for example, someone's stalking you from your workplace in the metro station, or someone's following your car, any of those things are happening, then you can go under what was the earlier 354, 351, 352, all those sections of the Indian Penal Code, which looked at stalking, acid attack, harassment. Before the amendments in 2013 came, we had only two sort of things under the Indian Penal Code which covered harassment against women. One was the rape law, which obviously we know enough about, and the other was outraging the modesty of a woman, which was a very vague section that was there. And in between, there was absolutely nothing, like nothing for e-teasing, nothing for stalking, nothing for harassment, nothing for acid attack. So these things have now, they were introduced in the law way back in 2013, post the gang rape case. So for anything that's happening in public and by someone who's not known to you, this becomes important, then you can go under these laws. If it's happening in public by someone who is known to you, let's say it's someone from office, it's a colleague, it could be a case of sexual harassment at workplace. If it's a spouse who's harassing or creating issues in the workplace, that could also be covered under the Domestic Violence Act or under the cruelty provisions of the Indian Penal Code. So depending on who the person is and where it is happening, you can access various laws that are there with regard to sexual harassment or harassment which does not even involve any physical touch, but in terms of the general things that are there. Especially with regard to the POSH law. POSH law, what happens is that, it gives women a little more sort of responsibility. The law very clearly lays down that in case there's a malicious complaint, which basically means that if you have intentionally filed a complaint which is wrong and you know it to be wrong, in that case, action can be taken against you. So that gives women more of a responsibility to not engage in behavior that is not appropriate. And in that case also, the perpetrator is not just a man. Like in the POSH law, even if there's sexual harassment by a woman, that would be covered under the POSH law. And all of this may be physical, but may not involve anything physical at all. It could be making suggestive remarks, it could be making sexually colored remarks, it could be creating a hostile work environment, as we understand, commenting on someone's looks can make them very conscious of how they're coming to office and therefore not being able to work, which is a hostile work environment. So it could be various things, like you mentioned, which are not physical, but could still amount to violence or sexual harassment or sexual abuse. These are some of the basic laws that one can look at. I'm sorry, there's a comment from Fit Shivam, which says, no offense, but this is private video call or Insta Live. Shivam, this is Insta Live. It is for us to discuss violence against different genders and what we can do if we are getting violated, and just a general legal session on basic things to know about the law. This is not legal advice that is being given to anyone. For anyone who's watching this or sees it later, please find a lawyer that you can speak to details of your case that you can share with them, and only then take legal advice. Please look at Instagram live videos, YouTube discussions only as an
Yeah.
exploratory place to start understanding about the law, but not as advice that can apply directly to your case. For that, you should discuss your case with someone. So, Shivam, if you're still around, I hope that addresses what this chat is
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, Shivam. आपकी वजह से कम हमने clarify तो किया that it is to talk, it's to build awareness, it's to also understand because unfortunately or fortunately, because of the RG car case, we are back to at least highlighting the topic and talking about it. And RG car and the rape case in Kolkata is just one example जो headlines बन रही हैं. But तमाम cases हैं, right? और तमाम cases रोज होते हैं. कुछ न्यूज में आते हैं, कुछ न्यूज में भी नहीं आते हैं, कुछ आपके अगल बगल में घर में भी होते हैं, आपके मोहल्ले में, and some are microaggressions. They have not become violence yet, but वो नीचे नीचे चल रहा है, that one colleague who's been harassed by somebody else in your office, or how you treat the lady who comes to work in your house, the domestic worker who comes to clean your house, how do you treat her? So I mean there's so many things that lead up to violence, जो हमको लगता है कि ये चलता है, right? It's okay. अच्छा, कोई बोल रहा है देवनागरी में बात करिए थोड़ा सा हिंदी में भी बात करते हैं. आई थिंक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, मिशिका, काफी सारे अलग अलग हक, क्योंकि वी कॉल्ड दिस हक की बातें, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बहुत अलग अलग हक आउटलाइन करता है एज सिटीजंस ऑफ द कंट्री, एंड इट इज अगेन इट इज across caste, across religion, class and sexuality, and the constitution also says, खास तौर से mention करता है कि especially अगर आप एक minority हैं, चाहे वो जाति से हो, चाहे वो धर्म के आधार पे हो, चाहे आप sexual minority हैं, gender minority हैं, तो in terms of खास तौर से क्या ध्यान रखना चाहिए आपको, you should not, special steps should be taken to include you and to safeguard your right, your right to your identity, to your practice. But aapne, as a lawyer who's also been, with your experience in NEEV and also as an advocate in the High Court, aapne violations to dekhe hain, of this law, and काफी एक सेंस मिलता है that होना तो चाहिए सबके लिए समान लॉ, लेकिन what is the law? I mean, it's not the same for everyone. सब लोग इस इक्वालिटी को एक तरीके से एक्सपीरियंस नहीं करते हैं, so उसके कुछ एग्जांपल्स आप शेयर कर सकते हैं हमारे साथ. I mean, for example, मैं एक चीज बोलना चाहती थी that I was looking at some data about trans cards, trans cards जो provide होने होते हैं, for trans people, so that they can get basic provisions, and I know that I think after identifying how many trans cards were to be issued, only 50% were issued. 50% were not issued only after that, or the fact that, we know that POSH के तहत काफी चर्चा हो रही थी पिछले 1-2 साल में, एंड हमने देखा था कि दिल्ली में फॉर एग्जांपल जो डोमेस्टिक वर्कर्स के यूनियंस हैं, अगर आपके साथ वायलेंस होता है, एज ए डोमेस्टिक वर्कर, जो कमेटी होनी होती है, तो उस कमेटी का एक तरीके से उसको फॉर्मली रिकॉग्नाइज ही नहीं किया गया है, so it's not been given that space. So what happens to those women? क्या उनका क्या हक बनता है फिर, to safe working environment, उनका क्या right बनता है? So yeah, I think over to you. Is the law same for everyone, or is it not in reality?
The law cannot be expected to be the same for everyone in reality. The law guarantees equality, but when you look at it, the law also looks at getting people to an elevated level if they are more oppressed, or balancing the level playing field. One side we say that men and women under the constitution are equal, but there are laws for women. What the argument people usually put forward. तो उसका कारण ये है कि आपको इक्वालिटी या आपको इक्वल सामान्य नजर से तभी देख सकते हैं अगर आपकी शुरुआत का जो बेस लेवल है वो समान है. अगर वो नहीं है तो लॉ भी एनकरेज करता है कुछ तरीके जिससे आप वो लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड पे आ पाए. बट बेसिक चीजें जो निदा हमें पता ही है, बट आई स्टिल हाईलाइट, और ये मेरे बहुत सारे केसेस में आती है इसलिए मैं हाईलाइट करना चाहती हूँ. उससे पहले सौरभ आनंद जी के बहुत मैसेजेस आए. सौरभ जी, मेरा सारा काम हिंदी में ही है क्योंकि जिन महिलाओं के साथ हम काम करते हैं उनकी इंग्लिश में शिक्षा हुई नहीं है, उनकी हिंदी में भी शिक्षा नहीं हुई है। और क्योंकि मैं ज्यादातर काम दिल्ली या दिल्ली के आसपास करती हूँ, तो हिंदी में ही हमारा काम होता है। पर इंग्लिश कोर्ट की भाषा है, तो हमें इंग्लिश में भी अपने आप को फ्लुएंट रखना होता है। इट्स करेक्ट, अंग्रेज चले गए और अंग्रेजी छोड़ के चले गए, बट अच्छा ही है ना, एक तरीके से हमें भी एक प्लेटफॉर्म मिला है वर्ल्ड में इंग्लिश की वजह से। तो इतना आई थिंक प्रॉब्लमेटिक नहीं होना चाहिए। पर जिनके साथ हम काम करते हैं उनके बीच में हम सेशंस जब करते हैं तो हम हिंदी में ही करते हैं। अभी हमारा इंस्टाग्राम लाइव थोड़ा हिंदी थोड़ा इंग्लिश मिक्स चल रहा है, पर क्योंकि हमने वो डिसाइड नहीं किया था, तो उसके लिए मैं माफी मांगना चाहती हूँ। तो कमिंग टू इक्वालिटी एंड हाउ द लॉ
सौरभ जी की सलाह पे थोड़ा हम मिक्स, सौरभ जी थैंक यू मेंशन करने के लिए, हम अपनी भाषा थोड़ी मिक्स रखेंगे।
हाँ, तो इसलिए सौरभ जी, क्योंकि आप जुड़े हुए हैं, तो इसलिए हम थोड़ा अब हिंदी में ही बात करते हैं। तो जब हम समानता की बात करते हैं, काफी कानून है जो समानता देने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, जैसे मिनिमम वेजेस, यानी कि जो बेसिक हमें कानून की तरफ से पैसे मिलने चाहिए अपना काम करने के लिए, सेम पोजीशन के लिए, वो कहता है कि सेम कार्य के लिए महिला और पुरुष में कोई फर्क नहीं होना चाहिए, उन्हें सेम ही पैसे मिलने चाहिए। पर वो हम कानून में भी नहीं देखते हैं, हम बॉलीवुड में भी नहीं देखते हैं। और जो मैं कह रही थी, जब हम कोर्ट में बात करते हैं और कोर्ट में जब खर्चों के केसेस होते हैं, मुआवजे की बात हो रही होती है, उन सब चीजों के बारे में जब हम चर्चा करते हैं, तो उसमें इस कानून की जरूर चर्चा होती है कि हाँ, कानून तो है, पर उसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन या वो एक्चुअली में कुछ हो रहा है उसके बारे में, क्या उसे फॉलो कर रहे हैं लोग, वो होता है कि नहीं होता है, वो हम नहीं देख रहे हैं। तो कानून और भी बनने की जरूरत है। जो आपने कहा कि कुछ कम्युनिटीज हैं जो ट्रांस कार्ड का इशू हुआ था कि उनके कार्ड नहीं बन पाए, जिसकी वजह से काफी दिक्कतें हैं, वो दिक्कतें भी हाँ डेफिनेटली हैं। पर ज्यादा मुश्किल ये है कि जो कानून है भी, उन्हें भी ठीक से हम इम्प्लीमेंट उतने फोर्स के साथ नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। अब दिक्कत यही होती है कि कानून होना एक चीज है, कानून का ज्ञात होना दूसरी चीज है। तो जिन्हें पता है इस कानून के बारे में, उनके साथ अगर इस चीज में उल्लंघन होता है, अगर उन्हें असमान तरीके से उनके वर्क स्पेस में या किसी भी जगह में ट्रीट किया जाता है, या उन्हें लगता है कि जो उनके साथ हुआ है वो असमानता की वजह से है, किसी कारण से, वो अगर माइनॉरिटी वर्ग से है या उस कारण से, और पता है उन्हें राइट्स के बारे में, तो वो कोर्ट आ सकते हैं। पर बेसिक फंडामेंटल प्रॉब्लम हमारी यही बन जाती है कि कानूनी जागरूकता थोड़ी और होनी जरूरी है। हाँ, लॉज को डेवलप होना भी जरूरी है, पर जो है कानून, उनको थोड़ा एक्सरसाइज करने की अभी मुझे ज्यादा नीड लगती है।
थैंक यू मिशिका। आई थिंक मेरा अगला सवाल आपसे है कि एक आम इंसान अगर संविधान को सही मायने में इस्तेमाल करके अगर एक तरीके से एक लार्जर लैंगिक आधारित मूवमेंट का हिस्सा बनना चाहे, कि लैंगिक समानता के ऊपर काम करना चाहे, एंड अगेन दिस इज अक्रॉस जेंडर्स, सिर्फ पुरुष और महिला के बारे में हम, और वी आर आल्सो टॉकिंग अबाउट जो अलग जेंडर आइडेंटिटी से होते हैं, जिनके बारे में बात नहीं किया जाता है, ट्रांस पीपल की बात कर रहे हैं हम लोग, क्वेयर लोगों की बात कर रहे हैं, LGBTQI समुदाय के लोगों की बात कर रहे हैं। तो अगर एक आम इंसान संविधान के मूल्यों को और संविधान में जो एक तरीके से डायरेक्शंस हैं दी हुई हैं, उसका इस्तेमाल करके एक लार्जर मूवमेंट का हिस्सा बनना चाहता है, तो कैसे बन सकता है?
आई थिंक आपकी संस्था और हमारी संस्था कुछ ऐसी संस्थाएं हैं जो इन मूवमेंट्स में अपना योगदान दे रही हैं। तो वो एक आसान तरीका है किसी ऐसी मूवमेंट से जुड़ने का, उन संस्थाओं से जुड़ के जो ऑलरेडी इस विषय पे काम कर रही हैं। पर काफी लोग मेरे पास जब आते हैं डिस्कशंस के लिए, कॉन्वर्जेशंस होती हैं, तो उसमें जैसे संविधान में अगर कुछ लिखा है उसके खिलाफ कुछ हो रहा है, उन्हें लगता है उन्हें कुछ करना चाहिए। तो कभी कभार वो सीधा कोर्ट का दरवाजा भी खटखटा सकते हैं कि हमें एक PIL फाइल करनी है, हमें डिस्कस करना है कोर्ट से कि क्यों ये होने के बावजूद भी, अगर संविधान में ऐसा लिखा है, क्यों ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है या क्या उल्लंघन हो रहा है, उसके लिए हम कोर्ट से क्या मांग सकते हैं। तो एक जरिया वो भी है कि अगर हमें लगता है कि कोई भी संवैधानिक चीजें हैं जो हमें गारंटी की गई हैं, जिनको ठीक तरीके से फॉलो नहीं किया जा रहा है या उल्लंघन देख रहे हैं, तो उसमें हम कोर्ट के दरवाजे पे भी सीधा आ सकते हैं, हाई कोर्ट पे भी जा सकते हैं, सुप्रीम कोर्ट पे भी जा सकता है, डिपेंड करता है किस विषय में हम ये कर रहे हैं। बट यंग लोगों को तो मैं यही सलाह दूंगी कि अगर आपके आसपास कोई संस्थाएं हैं, कोई कारण होता है कि लोग इन सब चीजों से जुड़ना चाहते हैं, कुछ स्कूल में हुआ होता है, कॉलेज में, मतलब कुछ ना कुछ कहानी सबकी रहती है कि क्यों उन्हें जेंडर जस्टिस या जेंडर स्पेस में इंटरेस्ट है। तो अगर आपका इंटरेस्ट किसी संस्था से आया है या किसी के काम के बारे में जान के आया है, तो शुरुआत वहां से करना आई थिंक अच्छा रहेगा। थोड़ा आप भी बिल्ड कर पाएंगे अपने आप को और फिगर आउट कर पाएंगे कि इस स्पेस में भी आप क्या करना चाहते हैं। आप एक्टिविज्म करना चाहते हैं, आप एडवोकेसी करना चाहते हैं, आप ट्रेनिंग करना चाहते हैं, बहुत से तरीके हैं इस पूरे विषय में जुड़ के कुछ बेटर करने का। तो आई थिंक शुरुआत के लिए वो सही रहेगा।
थैंक यू। काफी लोग इंटरेस्ट कर रहे हैं, अब बोल रहे हैं कि यूट्यूब पे क्यों नहीं करी, तो हम आपकी
सौरभ
सलाह
जी, यूट्यूब पे हमारी
पर
एक वीडियो है, वो मैं आपको भेज दूंगी, या इस वीडियो के कमेंट्स में मैं लिंक डाल दूंगी, तो वो आप देख सकते हैं।
थैंक यू मिशिका। आई थिंक मेरा आखिरी सवाल है, थोड़ा सा भारी सवाल है। आजकल कुछ हमने पहले जजमेंट्स एंड लॉज के बारे में बात की थी जो काफी मजबूत हैं, जिनको एज आई लाइक आई सेड, जैसे हमने बोला था कि स्पेशली हम नारीवादी संस्थाएं तो बहुत ही उनको हमारे लिए वो एक बहुत मजबूत प्लेटफॉर्म है, जैसे जो डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस का एक्ट था या वर्क प्लेस हरासमेंट का था। बट हाल फिलहाल में लॉज काफी स्पीड से बदल रहे हैं, और कुछ बदल रहे हैं, कुछ नहीं बदल रहे हैं, कुछ थोड़े से हेडिंग अलग है लेकिन अंदर मामला सेम है। तो मैं ये जानना चाहती थी आपसे, क्योंकि हम लोग जब देखते हैं कि जब नए लॉज आते हैं, जैसे कि विमेन्स रिजर्वेशन बिल जो संसद में औरतों के लिए रिजर्वेशन का बिल है, जो पिछले साल एक्ट बना है, या जो मैरिज इक्वालिटी का बिल है, जो शादी और मैरिज का हक मांगता है सभी इंडिविजुअल्स के लिए, इंक्लूडिंग जो LGBTQI समुदाय से लोग हैं, उनके लिए भी हक मांगता है, वो समान हक, राइट। या ले लीजिए जो अभी मैरिटल रेप का लॉ चल रहा है कि एज मैरिड विमेन हम भी रेप एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं। तो क्या लगता है आपको कि आप इन जजमेंट्स, ऐसी कोई इनमें से कोई जजमेंट्स है जो आपके लिए थोड़ा अलग खड़ी होती है, और आगे जाते हुए जिस तरीके से लॉ जेंडर इक्वालिटी को केटर करता है, किस तरीके से जेंडर इक्वालिटी को आगे बढ़ाता है, जेंडर जस्टिस को आगे बढ़ाता है, आपकी क्या राय है? हम कहाँ बढ़ रहे हैं आगे? क्या हम सही राह पे बढ़ रहे हैं, या थोड़ा अलग बढ़ने की जरूरत है?
निदा, आई थिंक राह तो सही है, पर पेस मुझे लगता है थोड़ी स्लो है। जनरली मुझे लगता है कि जिस डायरेक्शन में हम जा रहे हैं, इवन जो डिस्कशंस हो रही है मैरिटल रेप को लेकर, वो आई थिंक एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेप है। अब एक ओपिनियन मेरा भी था 2018 तक कि ऑब्वियसली ये लॉ क्रिमिनलाइज होना चाहिए। वो मेरा ओपिनियन था 6 साल पहले, वही मेरा ओपिनियन आज भी है। इस बात में एडिशन क्या हुआ है यही कि अब मैं समझती हूँ नुआंसेस कि अगर इस चीज को क्रिमिनलाइज करना है तो इट हैज टू बी वेल थॉट ऑफ, क्योंकि कॉन्जुगल रिलेशन मैरिड कपल के बीच में होते हैं। कैसे एस्टैब्लिश करना है कि कब वो वायलेशन है, कब वो रेप है, और कब वो कंसेंशुअल कॉन्जुगल रिलेशन है, ताकि जो सैंक्टिटी ऑफ मैरिज हम एसोसिएट करते हैं वो ना डिस्ट्रॉय हो, इज द क्वेश्चन। बट जस्ट बिकॉज सवाल मुश्किल है इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि हम जवाब ढूंढना छोड़ दें या हम बोल दें नहीं ये दिक्कत ही नहीं है। तो बातचीत से ही आई थिंक आगे बढ़ेंगे। हाँ, बहुत सारी कानून है जिनकी हमें जरूरत पड़ेगी, बट लाइक आई सेड, अभी हम डायरेक्शन हमने पकड़ लिए, बट वो थोड़ा थोड़ा करके ही आएगा। बहुत टाइम तक तो एक्नॉलेजमेंट भी नहीं थी कि मैरिटल रेप एक समस्या है। मैरिटल रेप हमेशा से रहा है, पर वो समस्या नहीं देखी गई है। शिकंडी का एग्जिस्टेंस महाभारत के टाइम से रहा है, बट तब भी हम लोग जेंडर्स में मेल और फीमेल ही रिकॉग्नाइज करते हैं। तो बहुत सी चीजें हैं जो बहुत पहले से आ रही हैं, और अब उनका समय आ गया कि अच्छा ये प्रायोरिटी है। कुछ चीजें हैं जो अभी हाल फिलहाल में 20-30 साल पहले शुरू हुई हैं, तो उनका समय शायद बाद में आएगा। बट और मे बी दैट्स द होपफुल पर्सन दैट आई एम, आई थिंक वी आर मूविंग इन द राइट डायरेक्शन, albeit slowly.
राइट।
एक शिवम का कमेंट है, निदा, आई जस्ट नॉट लाइक टू रिस्पॉन्ड टू दैट. Shivam, ma'am, I respect your opinions, but you don't even have your stand. You play every side. So, Shivam, I do take stands when I'm in court, when I have to represent someone. Here, we are only talking about the law. So, I don't really have a stand. It is more about giving information and exchanging opinions. So, this is not where I would want to also take a stand. It's more about an engaging conversation कि हम कानून के बारे में कितना समझते हैं और कितना और समझने की कोशिश कर सकते हैं, संविधान को मद्देनजर रखते हुए।
Mishika, I have a last follow-up question. हम मैरिज इक्वालिटी, हम अभी मैरिटल रेप के बारे में जो हम कॉन्वर्सेशन कर रहे थे कि as a married individual I could face that violence and I could face that rape, but वो अभी फिलहाल वो उसके ऊपर जो बातचीत चल रही है वो बहुत जरूरी है, जैसे आपने कहा. But what about also if I'm in a live-in relationship? What if I'm not married? In partner violence जो होता है, lots of, I know that थोड़ा थोड़ा ट्रेंड इंडिया में भी थोड़ा थोड़ा मैं कहूंगी बहुत ही थोड़ा बदल रहा है. That there are younger people who are opting not for marriage but also for live-in relationships. और अगर वहां पे आपको वायलेंस फेस होएगा तो आप कौन से लॉ के अंडर आप सपोर्ट मांग सकते हैं, आप अपना केस फाइल कर सकते हैं. दैट इज ऑल्सो समथिंग जो ज्यादा लोगों को पता नहीं है इसके बारे में. क्योंकि उनको लगता है कि भाई हमारी तो शादी नहीं है, हम कहाँ फाइल करेंगे.
दैट इज करेक्ट, बट ये थोड़ा मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग है लॉ को लेके. जैसे मैंने कहा कि डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस के लिए आपको देखना है डोमेस्टिक रिलेशनशिप और एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ वायलेंस. तो लिव इन रिलेशन में भी अगर कोई गृहस्थ जीवन साथ में बिता रहा है, ये नहीं कि वीकेंड पे साथ पे रहे और फिर वापस अपने अपने घर चले गए, उस टाइप से नहीं, पर अगर 7-10 साल दो लोग साथ में रह रहे हैं बिना शादी के भी एक शादीशुदा दंपत्ति की तरह, तो उनपे भी डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस का कानून लागू होगा. कल को अगर महिला के साथ कोई हिंसा होती है और अगर वो कोर्ट जाती है तो उन्हें कोर्ट को बस यही दिखाना होगा कि हाँ हमारा एक घरेलू रिश्ता था, जो आज के टाइम में आपकी फोटोज वीडियोज जो भी चीजें होती हैं घरेलू रिश्ता एस्टैब्लिश करने में वो काम आती है. तो उस टाइप से आप जा सकते हैं. पर कानून अंडरस्टैंड करता है कि बहुत से ऐसे केसेस में शादी जहाँ नहीं हुई होती है वहां इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि 25 कॉट फी जा सकते हैं कि हमने तो शादी नहीं की. हमारा इनफैक्ट एक केस चल रहा है जिसमें हम वाइफ को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं. उनके बच्चे एक आई थिंक 17 साल का है, 16-17, और बेटी आई थिंक 12-13 साल की है. तो 20 साल की शादी के बाद हस्बैंड ने यही डिफेंस दिया है घरेलू हिंसा के केस में कि हमारी तो शादी नहीं हुई. तो हम अपने क्लाइंट को यही बोलते हैं कि देखिए हम तो उन्हें जो भी सजा दिलाएंगे, पर उनके वकील उन्हें गलत सलाह दे रहे हो, गलत कानून के बारे में बता रहा है, वो उनके लिए वैसे ही सजा बन गई है. क्योंकि जो डिफेंस एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता है कानून में, उसके बलबूते पे अपना केस आगे चलाना, वो उन्हें हमने हस्बैंड को भी डायरेक्टली समझाया हुआ है कि आप इसमें कंसिडर करिए कि आपको क्या करना है, क्योंकि कानून तो आप पे तब भी लागू होगा. पर बहुत से ऐसे लोग हैं जो इसी उसमें रहते हैं कि अगर हमारी शादी नहीं हुई है तो कोई हम पे हिंसा का केस नहीं कर सकता, या हमारी किसी और से अगर शादी हुई है तो उसमें प्रॉब्लम्स आ सकती हैं.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mishika. And I think just for our audience, and I think हमको ये बातचीत हर कुछ महीने हमको पिकअप करनी चाहिए, because there are so many newer laws. इतने नए laws आते हैं और मुझे लगता है कि लोगों को पता ही नहीं है इन laws के बारे में. And I think आमतौर पे भी लोगों के पास वो एक तरीके से वो सपोर्ट नहीं होता है कि हाउ टू मेक सेंस ऑफ द लॉ. हम लॉ को समझे कैसे, कहाँ शुरू करें. बड़ी कड़ी लैंग्वेज में लिखा होता है ये लॉज और कभी कभी नहीं समझ आते हैं. एंड आई थिंक एक लास्ट मेरा क्वेश्चन है आपसे, जस्ट एज अ क्विक टिप, कि अगर मुझे कानूनों के बारे में अपनी जानकारी बढ़ानी हो, if I want to understand more about laws through which I can achieve gender justice, अगर मुझे gender equality और gender justice की तरफ particularly संवैधानिक पैमाने पे अपनी knowledge बनानी है, तो are there any online resources जो मैं जाके पढ़ सकती हूँ या देख सकती हूँ? Are there any such platforms?
देखिए YouTube पे ना है काफी वीडियोस वगैरह जो आप देख सकते हैं. एडवाइस मेरी मोस्टली यही रहेंगी कि जो लॉन्ग फॉर्म वीडियोस होती हैं जो डिटेल में डिस्कस कर रहे हैं किसी केस के बारे में या किसी पर्टिकुलर लॉ के बारे में, उनसे आपको लाइक्लीहुड है इन्फॉर्मेशन ज्यादा एक्यूरेट मिलने की. मेरा खुद का एक्सपीरियंस यही रहा है कि शॉर्ट फॉर्म वीडियोस कभी कभार आउट ऑफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट होती हैं, कभी कभार उसमें ज्यादा सेंसेशनल इंग्रेडिएंट होता है, बट इंफॉर्मेशन ज्यादा एक्यूरेट नहीं होती है. तो एक तो है कि लॉन्ग फॉर्म कंटेंट आप देखें. काफी लॉयर्स हैं, प्रैक्टिसिंग लॉयर्स, जो ये वीडियोस कर रहे हैं, तो दे आर योर बेस्ट बेट बिकॉज दे आर प्रैक्टिसिंग, दे नो व्हाट दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. जो लोग लॉ प्रैक्टिस नहीं कर रहे हैं वो थ्योरेटिकल नॉलेज के लिए ठीक है, पर थ्योरेटिकल नॉलेज में प्रॉब्लम ये हो जाती है, जैसे कानून कहता है आपका डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस का केस 60 दिन में हो जाना चाहिए, पर 60 दिन में तो आपको पहली डेट या दूसरी डेट ही मिल पाती है. तो थोड़ा थ्योरेटिकल और प्रैक्टिकल का प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है. जो लोग ज्यादा थ्योरेटिकल नॉलेज लेकर हमारे पास आते हैं कि नहीं ऐसा होना चाहिए ऐसा होना चाहिए, फिर थोड़ा उन्हें रियलिटी फेस करने में टाइम लगता है कि अच्छा आपने जो पढ़ा था वो सही था पर प्रैक्टिकलिटी थोड़ी डिफरेंट है. तो स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट वो लॉन्ग फॉर्म वीडियोस वगैरह हैं. बाकी जजमेंट का क्या होता है ना, जजमेंट हम तभी रेलिवेंट समझते हैं जब कोई न्यूज़पेपर उसे रिपोर्ट कर देता है, या हम उसके बारे में देख लेते हैं इंस्टाग्राम पे या किसी भी सोशल मीडिया पे या व्हाट्सएप पे कोई भेज देता है। पर उसमें जो हम पढ़ रहे हैं वो एक जजमेंट की इंटरप्रिटेशन है जो एक जर्नलिस्ट ने की है। बहुत बार ऐसा हो सकता है कि वो ठीक इंटरप्रिटेशन नहीं है, या वो जो मेन मुद्दा है उसकी चीज नहीं है, पर अगेन जो क्लिक बेट के लिए कर देते हैं कभी कभार। तो अगर आप किसी स्पेसिफिक केस के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन चाहते हैं, डोंट स्टॉप एट द आर्टिकल। आपने आर्टिकल पढ़ा, मोस्टली उस आर्टिकल से आपको केस का लिंक मिल जाएगा। आजकल मैं जहाँ देखती हूँ जजमेंट्स के लिंक होते हैं। नहीं तो आप उनको ईमेल कर सकते हैं कि आपके जर्नलिस्ट ने ये रिपोर्ट किया था, ये कौन सी जजमेंट है। आप इन्फॉर्मेशन देख सकते हैं। अगर जजमेंट का नाम है तो आप गूगल पे टाइप करेंगे तो आपको जजमेंट मिल भी सकती है। ज्यादातर डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट की जजमेंट उतनी रिपोर्ट नहीं होती है, हाई कोर्ट की होती है और सुप्रीम कोर्ट की, जो इजीली ऑनलाइन मोस्टली अवेलेबल हो जाती है। तो ये कुछ तरीके हैं जिससे एक्सप्लोर कर सकते हैं।
हमारे
प्रतिभा जी
कुछ
इस
साथी
वीडियो के बाद कर देंगे
हाँ
please। हाँ
हमारे कुछ साथी पूछ रहे हैं कि क्या आप प्लीज YouTube के जो लिंक है, तो मिशिका अगर आप जस्ट फॉर आवर व्यूअर्स अगर आप एक दो लिंक से नाम हमें शेयर कर सकती हैं, तो देन वील आल्सो शेयर इट लाइव के बाद अपनी स्टोरीज में, फॉर एनीबडी हु वांट्स
इसमें
टू रीड अप
एक्चुअली
ऑन
मैं वीडियो के कमेंट्स में डाल दूंगी स्पेसिफिक वीडियोस जो मुझे ठीक लगी। मतलब आई कांट पिन पॉइंट द लिंक
श्योर
राइट
श्योर
नाउ, पर प्रतिभा जी इस लाइव के जो कमेंट्स होंगे ना, उसमें आपको हम टैग करके लिंक भेज देंगे। आप भी देखते रहिएगा, जब भी ये अपलोड होता है तो उसके बाद में लिंक इसमें डाल दूंगी। आज का थोड़ा मुझे समय दीजिएगा क्योंकि मैं कोर्ट से लेट फ्री होंगी, उसके बाद में डाल दूंगी लिंक।
थैंक्स। एंड आई थिंक जस्ट टू क्लोज द कॉन्वर्सेशन, आज की बातचीत को थोड़ा सा क्लोज करते हुए, मेरा आखिरी सवाल है आपसे मिशिका, दैट is there a particular emotion that you are left with? आप इस क्षेत्र में काम कर रही हैं, it's not just your work, जितना मैं आपको जानती हूँ, it's also a calling, एक personal passion भी है, एक जोश भी है, एक जुनून भी है, राइट? हक की लड़ाई और हक की बातें हम कर रहे हैं, राइट? एंड एक तो है कि हम भी काम करते हैं, हमारी भी रोजी रोटी होती है, इट्स आवर प्रोफेशन, राइट? बट द अदर पीस इज ऑल्सो दैट एक जुनून है, एक जोश है, एक इमोशन भी अटैच्ड है, कि संविधान सबको एक समान हक देता है, राइट? एंड संविधान के मुताबिक हम सबको वो डिग्निटी से जीने का हक है एज ए सिटीजन, एक नागरिक होने के तौर पे। सो जस्ट वांटेड टू आस्क यू कि आपका वो क्या इमोशन है, क्या आपकी कॉलिंग है जो आपको आगे बढ़ाती रहती है? बिकॉज आई एम श्योर एज अ लॉयर, एज अ वुमन, एज अ लॉयर, इट्स नॉट इजी इस फील्ड में रहना और आगे बढ़ते रहना, परसिवियर करना। सो जस्ट वांटेड टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट कीप्स यू गोइंग, मिशिका। आपको क्या आपको मजबूत बनाता है?
इस सवाल का जवाब नेता बदलता रहता है डिपेंडिंग ऑन मुझसे कब पूछा जा रहा है। तो आज के लिए, क्योंकि कभी कभार बहुत ज्यादा सैडनेस भी होती है, जिस फील्ड में हम काम कर रहे हैं उसमें रिलीफ नहीं मिल रहा है, क्लाइंट को हम कुछ नहीं दिला पा रहे हैं, वो थिंग्स दैट आर नॉट इन आवर कंट्रोल। तो काफी फीलिंग उस टाइप की भी आती है कि आप कोशिश ही कर रहे हैं, आप किसी को कुछ दिला नहीं पा रहे हैं। इट्स मोस्टली कि आप उस प्रोसेस में हैं, जब तक कुछ मिलेगा तब तक 2-4 साल आपको भी लगेंगे। तो प्रोसीजर समझते हुए भी कभी कभार ये चीजें लगती हैं। बट आई थिंक मेरा अंडरलाइंग इमोशन यही रहा है कि जहाँ आपको छोटे छोटे इम्पैक्ट मिलते हैं, छोटी छोटी जो आपको ग्रेटिफिकेशन मिलती है, वही बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक्स है। मतलब मे बी हम सडनली माइंडसेट नहीं चेंज कर सकते हैं कि महिलाओं के साथ सेक्सुअल वायलेंस नहीं होना चाहिए। हम सारे सडनली वर्क स्पेसेस सेफ नहीं बना सकते हैं। हम सारे लोगों को ये नहीं रियलाइज कर सकते हैं कि अगर महिला काम करनी चाहती है तो ठीक है, उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, परमिशन की जरूरत नहीं होनी चाहिए। बट इन छोटी छोटी बैटल्स में वो एक इंसान के लिए, वी आर एबल टू डू समथिंग, उनके लिए अगर हम कुछ कर सकते हैं फाइनेंशियली, जस्टिस वाइज, उन्हें जो न्याय लगता है, आई थिंक दैट स्मॉल जॉयज इज द अंडरलाइंग इमोशन दैट कीप्स अस गोइंग, कीप्स मी डेफिनेटली गोइंग। कि अगर पूरे हफ्ते में कोई एक भी ऐसा केस है जिसमें हमें कुछ रिलीफ मिल रहा है, ऐसा जिसके लिए हम काफी देर से वेट कर रहे थे, वो हमारे लिए, टीम के लिए, क्लाइंट के लिए, सबके लिए बहुत बड़ी खुशी का सोर्स बन जाता है।
थैंक यू, बहुत 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 शुक्रिया मिशिका, आज हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए संविधान दिवस पर। एंड जो देख रहे हैं, जो सुनेंगे ये बातों को, देखिए आपके पास जरूर जाइए, ऑनलाइन जाइए। कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की कॉपीज ऑनलाइन भी अवेलेबल है। संविधान दिवस बहुत तरीकों में मनाया जा सकता है। शायद हम अपने आप को ही थोड़ा वाकिफ कर सकते हैं। मे बी वी कैन स्टार्ट विद द एजुकेशन एंड द अवेयरनेस विद आवरसेल्व्स, यू नो। गो टॉक अबाउट इट, पिक अप अ टॉपिक, पिक अप वन ऑफ द लॉज इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन। अपने घर में चर्चा करिए, नुक्कड़ पे बैठ के चाय पीते हुए, सड़क पे चर्चा करिए, कहीं भी करिए, लेकिन चर्चा जरूर करिए। Yes, thank you so much, Mishika, and we'll come back again. हक की बातें आता रहेगा वापस। अगले हफ्ते हमारा एक और कॉन्वर्सेशन होगा हक की बातें पर। और अगर आप चाहते हैं कि हम मिशिका को वापस बुलाएं कॉन्वर्सेशन के लिए, तो प्लीज हमें डीएम करिए, हमें कमेंट्स में डालिए। हम जरूर फिर से एक कॉन्वर्सेशन ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे। थैंक यू सो मच, Mishika. It's been thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for
Nida.
doing this. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Take
Thank
care. Bye.